Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Fumbled Beginning by S. Jones, narrated by Tyler Donne and Lou Banks. Chapter 1. J.P. "We've been spotted," Rhett whispered into my ear as we entered the crowded pub. "Fucking fantastic," I grumbled, noticing a few cameras pointed our way. I was tired, sore, and in a shitty mood. The bar was packed, which was no surprise for a Friday night, and I knew the second I stepped inside we would have to fight for a place to sit. You could feel the stares and hear the hushed conversations about our presence, even though there was a Taylor Swift song playing at an uncomfortable volume. There was nowhere in the state of Georgia where 10 Atlanta Arrow players could sneak in unnoticed. "Am I the only one who thinks this is nuts?" Rhett asked as we edged our way toward the back bar, trying to minimize his 6'3" tight-end body from drawing any further attention. "No more than the actual marriage itself." I glanced around, my level of irritation spiking, because I allowed myself to get dragged into this fiasco in the first place. Our teammate Beckett's soon-to-be wife insisted that this little bachelor party be low-key. No strippers and no dance clubs. Just a few cigars and a little booze with the boys. If you thought that was weird, that wasn't even the craziest part. Carrie and Beckett were already married. Tomorrow was their vow renewal ceremony, but after the rough patch they went through last year and almost getting divorced, they thought this would be a good way to start fresh. "At least they scheduled it during our bye week. Lord knows we need one after that press conference. Rogers really knows how to rattle your cage," Rhett grinned. "Probably needs to find ways to compensate for his small dick and even smaller brain," I grunted out. Tristan Rogers was a hungry sports reporter who was always looking to create a headline for himself. The guy would get a boner any time he'd get a reaction out of me during our team press conferences. He pretended to ask tough questions about mistakes I'd made on the field. When he brought up the team delaying my contract extension next season, he successfully pissed me off. Instead of giving him a snappy comeback like he expected, I just smiled and gave him a politically correct answer. He wasn't happy with my response, probably because he wouldn't be getting a boner like he had hoped. We squeezed into an open space at the bar, just as a group of girls dispersed. They didn't look old enough to drink and practically had fake ID stamped on their foreheads. "What's your poison?" The female bartender leaned forward, eyeing us impatiently. She had a scowl across her lips, most likely from dealing with assholes like us all night. While my eyes went to the liquor bottles lining the back, Rhett's drifted to her cleavage. Not wanting to come across as a creep like my buddy next to me, I pretended to look over my choices, even though I already knew what I would order. "We'll take 2 buckets of Corona and a bottle of Patron." She lifted a brow. "You want the whole bottle?" "Yes, please." I pulled out my wallet and dug out 2 crisp $100 bills. "Don't forget the lime." Rhett slapped me on the back and turned his sly smile on her. "We'll also take a bottle of Jack." She leaned back, folding her arms across her chest. "What does this look like to you? A liquor store?" She was a little over 5 feet tall and weighed maybe 110 pounds soaking wet. Her size wasn't close to being intimidating, but with her fiery red hair and cunning voice, she came across as a no-nonsense operator. "No, it looks like a packed bar, and my buddies and I are celebrating tonight, so the fewer trips we have to take to get refills, the easier it will be." I handed her a $50 tip. "Suit yourself." She stuffed the bills inside her shirt and walked to the back room. Damn, I sounded like a grump. Probably because I'd been working extra hard in the weight room, pushing myself harder than I ever had in my life. With our season winding down and playoffs starting, I'd spent all my free time focused on the game. I couldn't even tell you the last time I got laid. Rhett bit the inside of his cheek. She's kinda cute. My eyes rolled of their own accord. The guy was a walking, talking stereotype. He grabbed his phone out of his back pocket. Think she'll give me her number? I clapped him on the shoulder. Easy there, Romeo. We've only been here less than 5 minutes. You don't need to try to get in the pants of the first woman to speak to you. Let's unwind for a few minutes before you start propositioning the ladies. He rolled his eyes. Okay, Grandpa. The object of his affection strode across the bar, carefully balancing the 2 trays. Where are y'all sitting? I grabbed one of the round trays out of her hands and led the way. Rhett started rattling off a series of pickup lines, which weren't going over very well. I was pretty sure he was going to crash and burn before he even sat down. I slid my tall body into one of the 4 booths we had managed to take over and sprawled my legs out as far as they could go. Let's just say the booth would be better at accommodating a team of horse jockeys than football players. I listened as the guys complained about the drills Coach put us through today, but I didn't join in. I loved the sport, and every minute I got to play. I'd seen too many dreams end before they started, and I learned never to take getting paid to do what I loved for granted. Our team was young, and we were eager to prove ourselves with our new starting quarterback. But desire didn't always result in a win. We were walking into the playoffs next week as the number 2 seed. San Diego was favored to win. Getting invited to the dance was just a start. These rookies would have to learn that lesson the hard way. Rhett downed a shot of tequila and slammed the glass on the wood table. Anyone else want to set Coach's car on fire for putting us through hell this week? It felt like he was analyzing our every move on the field and acted like we didn't have a chance to win the playoffs. He wasn't lying. Every missed block, every dropped pass, every mistake was being picked apart and called out. Mitch Morris, a starting defensive lineman, plucked a beer off the tray. Stop being a pussy, Rhett. Did you not see me puking my brains out in the locker room on Wednesday? Rhett whined. Maybe next year you might want to tell Mommy not to send you home with so many Christmas cookies. Morris smirked. You're not getting any younger, so your metabolism can't handle all that junk. We all laughed at the same time Rhett threw up his middle finger. He was always sneaking shit into the locker room that our team's dietitians would have a coronary over. You're all just jealous because you can't eat real food and still look like this. The goofball lifted his shirt up, giving us a full view of his abs. My eyes darted to the TVs over the bar to check the scores of the 2 NBA games being played. I shook my head and lifted my beer to my lips when I spotted Riley Cross, my ex-teammate and best friend's sister, occupying one of the stools. Her black dress was so tight it caused the slit on the side to ride up her thigh. I would know that body anywhere, seeing all the attention I'd paid it over the years. The woman haunted or owned every one of my damn dreams, depending on how you looked at it. Running a hand across my newly trimmed beard, I debated what to do. I could practically hear her brother's voice in my ear, warning me to stay away from her. But she was right in my line of sight, looking tempting in ways that made me want to forget about every single rule and boundary I set for myself when it came to her. Mav and I had been friends for years, which was why I'd pushed my attraction to his sister to the back of my mind. There was no way in hell he'd approve. Not that anything would come of it anyway. It was a complication I didn't want or need. Watching her from afar felt wrong, so I tore my eyes away and focused on a group of women sitting at a table nearby. I'd been so distracted and caught up in my thoughts, I hadn't spotted the guy dressed in a pair of khakis and a bright pink polo that looked like he just came from the country club after playing 18 holes. My eyes squinted and then bounced between them. The douche was smiling. Riley was not. She looked furious. In an instant, I moved in that direction, keeping my eyes on her and the golfer the entire time. I shoved past a few people because I was a large guy and it wasn't easy to maneuver through a crowded bar without bumping into a shoulder or two. When I got close enough, I could hear her chewing him out while he stared at her chest. "You catfished me!" She raised her voice to the asshole who was still staring at her tits. Heaven help him if he didn't remove his eyes in the next second. "Does that mean you're not DTF?" "Excuse me?" "You know, down to fuck. My face might not be what you wanted, but my dick sure will be once you feel the size of it." His chuckle was rough, and my blood pressure skyrocketed. "Hey." I slid up against her back, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Everything okay over here?" Her head whipped to the side, and those big brown eyes widened in surprise. I was close enough that her light floral perfume inched up my nose, making my head buzz with awareness. I gave myself a second to allow my eyes to roam over her face and make sure she was okay. The preppy-dressed guy with slicked-back hair glanced up at me. "Yeah, man, we're good." "I wasn't talking to you, Tiger Woods." He puffed his chest out like he was ready to take me on. "This is a private matter." "I'm going to have to disagree with you there, pal." I crossed my arms over my chest, making my biceps bulge against the fabric of my shirt. I had inches, pounds, and muscle on the man, so the guy had to be smart enough to know that a fight would end badly for him. "I'm not sure how this is any of your business." A bead of sweat started to edge its way down his temple. "This is between me and my date." I moved to stand in front of Riley. The dude looked at her over my shoulder, and after the shitty day I had, my patience was already wearing thin. I widened my legs, doing my best to block her from his view. I was going to handle this, and it would be his choice if it were the hard or easy way. "Your date is over," I clipped. "Is it now?" Riley twisted in her seat and leaned her arm along the bar top. Her tone was heavy with sarcasm. She didn't seem too thrilled with me inserting myself into her business. I was overstepping and out of line, but it was my duty as her brother's best friend to look out for her. "Yeah, right. That was the only reason. You wanted her for yourself, you fucking hypocrite." "Yes." I tilted my head to the side and fired a look at the guy who was watching us with a mixture of curiosity and panic. "You can go now." "Wait a second." His eyes widened with recognition. "You're J.P. Watson. Dude, I just watched that clip of you and that reporter on SportsCenter. That was quite a pass you caught." He snapped his fingers. "Oh, wait. You dropped it 3 yards short of the end zone. Damn, that was brutal. You might want to get that hand checked out. There must be something they can do." A sneer touched his lips, like maybe put superglue on your fingertips. My brain went back to every NFL training class I had to sit through and tried to remember every technique I was taught to control my temper, because I was 2 seconds away from punching this guy in the nuts. I looked around the crowded pub. The last thing the team needed was some bar fight footage showing up tonight on the 11 o'clock broadcast before the playoffs even started. "You don't exactly look like you're in a position to be handing out advice on how to do my job." "What's that supposed to mean?" He seemed genuinely offended. I gave him the same condescending laugh he gave me. "Dude, you don't look like you've stepped foot in a weight room in your entire life. And looking at how skinny your arms are, I doubt you could carry my jock strap, let alone catch a football moving 50 miles per hour. But I appreciate the laugh," I said with zero humor in my voice. "Whoa, you don't need to be a prick about it. I was just busting your chops." A muscle in my jaw ticked as I stared down the little fucker. Although he had a big set of balls on him, I'd give him that. "Look, dude. If you're half as smart as you think you are, I'd start taking your photoshopped face to the exit. You're done here. Now buzz off." I snuck a quick glance over at my teammates, who hadn't even realized I'd ditched them yet. They would give me shit if they knew I was over here pissing all over Maverick Cross's little sister. He held his hands up and shook his head. This is way too much work. I'm out of here. But you know what? He turned as he reached the door. I meant what I said. You can't catch a ball for shit, bro. I shoved my hands in my pockets and clenched my fists. I counted to 10 and forced myself to calm down. Hey, Pinky, I yelled over the noise as he was about to walk out. If you even think about contacting her again, I'll show you exactly what my hands are capable of. He flipped me off on his way out the door. Asshole, I muttered under my breath. Riley leaned back in her seat, her dainty fingers curved around her martini glass. You didn't need to scare him off. I am perfectly capable of defending myself. I trailed my eyes down her exposed skin and composed my face quickly. Really? Are you sure about that, Sunshine? What are you implying? She scowled like she always did at her nickname. It started out as a joke because she would always glare when I'd try to say something funny, but over time it stuck, and I was getting the sense that she liked the fact that I gave her a term of endearment, although it might have been wishful thinking on my part. I kept my face on hers. You're only asking for trouble meeting men on blind dates dressed like that. My comment seemed to strike a nerve. Something about her temper always made things twitch below the waist. That's a sexist statement. Don't you think you're being a little judgmental? Man, I was really messing this up. I'm not trying to be insulting. You look gorgeous as always. I winked, thinking a little charm might do me some good. But judging by her death stare, I was losing credibility quickly. All I'm saying is, you might want to save the nice dresses for when you know a man well enough to trust him to keep his hands to himself. It was men like me that she had to worry about. You don't seem to mind dating bimbos who wear far less than this. I've bedded my fair share of women without any regard for how they dressed. I've always been honest and treated them with respect. There were zero expectations involved, so her point was irrelevant. I leaned in close so she could hear me over the noise in the bar. Her breath hitched when I brought my mouth up to her ear. I don't date them, Riley. I fuck them. There's a difference. Her mouth parted open just enough where I could slide my tongue inside. The woman was testing my self-control, and it was the first time I considered this attraction might not be as one-sided as I assumed. Maybe that's what I was hoping for. It took me a minute to register what she was implying. I wanted to tell her if she was going to hook up with anyone, it would be me, but I didn't dare say any of that. Hooking up with your friend's sister might not be illegal, but in this case, it might as well be. With him? I pointed over my shoulder where the pink polo shirt had just left. I doubt it. Her lips quirked up in a playful smirk. My body remained completely still, while my brain fought like hell to rid the vision of all the things I wanted to do with that mouth of hers. I was weak when it came to this woman, like an overflowing shopping bag ready to break apart at any second. You're right. She darted her tongue out and swiped it along her upper lip. I actually prefer a gentleman. Do you happen to know one? Did she realize she was playing with fire? That we were headed toward dangerous territory? Or was she simply provoking me to see how far she could push me? Knowing Riley, it was the latter. I moved in, putting us at eye level, my mouth hovering over hers. It would have been so damn easy to give in, especially now that I knew she might not resist me. Just because I don't date, it doesn't mean I'm an asshole. Never said you were. Her breathing picked up, and those beautiful brown eyes searched mine. I guess that just makes you a player then. Technically, that's true, but I also have rules that I follow. She was teasing me instead of fighting me, and I wasn't sure what to make of that. Let me guess what the rules are. They have to have big tits, long legs, and are an easy lay. We were close. So close that even I couldn't ignore the heated look in her eyes. Or maybe it was mischief. I couldn't tell. Either way, it had disaster written all over it, because she was 1 second away from kissing me. My smile was big as I stared her down. Why, Sunshine, you seem awfully curious. Are you interested? What the hell was I doing? Guilt squeezed my insides. We were playing with fire, and I was officially going to hell. This woman was off limits. I shouldn't have been thinking about making a move on her. You would like that, wouldn't you? She had no idea. It took every ounce of restraint I could muster to hold myself back. Being this close to her and knowing I had to walk away was like being a little kid in an amusement park without any ride tickets. You know I would, but I'm not sure Maverick would approve. My brother isn't my keeper. Like a bucket of ice water washing over me, I remembered what was at stake. This little encounter needed to end. Lines were getting blurred, and if I wasn't careful, someone would get burned. No, but he is my best friend, and he would kick my ass. I needed to get away from her before I did something stupid. What if I said I didn't care? I was so fucked. Instead of kissing her like I wanted to, I brushed my lips along her cheek. Name the time and place and I'll be there. Yeah, I was going to hell, and it would be totally worth it.
Chapter 2. Riley. I spotted JP the second I stepped inside my brother's condo. The room was loud, filled with laughter and conversation, but somehow my eyes immediately went to his. That almost kiss had been all I thought about. The moment his lips touched my cheek, I knew I was in trouble. I could only imagine what would have happened if we actually followed through with it. No doubt it would have been the type of kiss to consume me. But then what? We'd give in to temptation, spend the night together. He would wake up the next day and tell me he regretted it and start avoiding me, leaving me with a broken heart. Yeah, no thanks. I'll pass. It was better this way. Easier. Safer. He was gathered in a circle engaged in conversation with his teammates, but it didn't look like he was paying attention to what they were saying. He wasn't even looking at them. His piercing green eyes were fixated on me. My stomach twisted with nerves, and a tingle of awareness crept up my spine. That swagger was in full effect as his strong legs ate up the distance between us. His thick, no-nonsense black hair was hidden under a ball cap. He was smiling, and those lips I dreamed about last night were formed into a smirk. He came to a stop in front of me, and I crossed my arms over my chest. Seeing that he was my brother's best friend, I knew there was a good chance that he would be here, and I might have put a little extra effort into my appearance. "Hey, Sunshine." His gaze raked over my red mini sweater dress and thigh-high boots that I picked out with him in mind. "My name is Riley," I scowled, causing him to laugh. Barbs and sarcastic banter had become our thing over the years. "I know, but it sure is fun ruffling those pretty feathers of yours." "Really? I couldn't tell." I parked a hand on my hip, doing a terrible job of disguising my annoyance. "What brings you over to my side of the room?" "Just coming over to say hi. How have you been?" "You just saw me last night. Not much has changed in the last 24 hours. Another smile slipped out of him. He looked amused. "You don't look very happy to see me." "Should I be?" He tilted his head to the side. "Yes, considering I probably saved your parents from finding your dismembered body in the woods this morning." My eyes rolled. I should have known he couldn't go 5 seconds without bringing up that bad date. You'll be happy to know I've sworn off men. No more online dating for me. The right side of his mouth lifted up. That damn dimple in his cheek was going to be my undoing. That's good to hear. You don't need those dating apps to find a man anyway. You don't think so? Was he trying to tell me something? I couldn't tell because my brain cells were barely functioning after the liquor-fueled pounding I gave them after he left me last night. Nope. He waved a hand up and down his chest. Everything you could possibly need is right here for the taking. All you have to do is say the word, sweetheart. I shook my head, trying to fight the smile splitting my cheeks. J.P. Watson was a huge flirt who could not be taken seriously. It was hard to tell if he was serious or not. I'm not touching that comment, I informed him, hoping he didn't notice how I squirmed under his stare. With him being one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, he didn't have to put any effort into finding a date. He had more females waiting for him after each game than Bath and Body Works got on Candle Day. I've had many theories on why he avoided commitment, but all the evidence pointed to his looks and notoriety. Women loved that bad boy image, and it didn't hurt that he had a fat wallet and was rumored to be very skilled in areas other than football, if you catch my drift. Seriously, Riley. No more swiping right to get a date. It's not safe. That's easy for you to say. All you have to do is crook your finger and women collapse at your feet, waiting for the next command. He laughed. Not all women, apparently. And I can't help it if I like to physically see the person first to gauge if there is any chemistry there. You mean before you invite them to share your bed for the night? I'm not as much of a ladies' man as you think I am. I just get bored easily. That was exactly why I would never be able to take his flirting seriously. It would go absolutely nowhere. And what made matters worse, there would be no avoiding him. He was my brother's best friend. So it would be incredibly foolish of me to entertain any romantic ideas about him. It's a good thing I'm not interested in being another notch on your bedpost, then, I deadpanned. Good, because you deserve better than me. The casual way he said that didn't settle right with me. His lips turned down as if he were embarrassed about who he was. I didn't like that look on him or how that made me feel. As you said, just because you do casual, it doesn't make you a bad guy, I said, reminding him of his own words. His hand went to his heart. Did you just pay me a compliment? Don't go getting any ideas in that overinflated head of yours. I pointed my finger in warning. Go ahead. Just admit you're attracted to me. You couldn't get me to admit that, even if you waterboarded me. He patted my shoulder. That's okay, sunshine. Your eyes speak for themselves. I know the truth. No need to say it out loud. There was a smile on his face, but something else, too. I shook my shoulder, effectively knocking his hand away. His close proximity was testing my willpower. I feel like we need to set some ground rules, I said, with a hell of a lot more confidence than I was feeling. It's cute that you think a set of rules will stop me. He crossed his arms. Don't forget, I read playbooks for a living. I know how to intercept rules and turn them to my advantage. It was an act. It was all an act. It had to be, because if it wasn't, then I was in big trouble. JP, you are forgetting that we are playing a different game. I'm playing for keeps. You're playing for fun. I tried to keep the waver out of my voice while reminding him we wanted different things. I'm looking for a relationship. That's why I go on these dates. I might not be an expert on relationships, but I know you're not going to find the guy you're looking for through a casual hookup. A girl has to start somewhere, right? I grinned, my eyes shining at the
Sample complete. Ready to continue?